Bing, we're live. It's the AsyncVoter meeting. This has got this phrase of calling things retros and kickoffs and so on. And what's in a name? Would a rose by any other name smell just as sweet? Who knows? We didn't have a meeting last week because I was away. And the AsyncVoter continues to be used. And yes, gosh, it's so terribly convenient that we can have multiple votes in the same channel, which is lovely. I guess let's check in on where we are. I think the last thing I remember happening was that, Brent, you had done fantastic work putting together a client to help our two apps communicate with each other.
Yes, that's right. And then I made one small change as well since we last spoke, which was, if I remember rightly, to add some timestamp fields to the voter.
Yes.
Yeah, I've not done much. One thing I have been doing though is giving some thought to testing, because that's sort of the next thing that I want to do with the client. So yeah, it'd be good to talk about that.
Right.
Some of my thoughts on that. Yeah, a little bit later.
Great. I think we're meeting, and this is, I'm trying to get in 17, and it's like a 12:50. There we go. That's right. I'm trying to stay on top of I had like 40 untitled text things recently. It was all getting rid out of hand. Yeah, and Michael, I guess you're, continue to be interested in the AsyncVoter in the context of this could provide more data for machine learning. But otherwise, you don't have anything particular that you're after.
Not right now, no.
Things that are on my mind is when we were doing the website one meeting, was there are other features which I think are in the issues there of stuff that, so like about automatically updating waffle tickets, and automatically adding the discussion in the chat to the tickets, and then also like maintaining tickets, or this is the like votes at bottom of the Slack channel. But I guess that's like the voter list, which then which relates to the whole being able to store them somewhere sensibly and be able to get lists of them. So Brent, that client, thinking about testing. So let us go to look at the. Go on.
Oh no, sorry, I was just clearing my throat.
Oh, no worries. So I think, yeah, we have various of the issues there. That's the async Slack command. It's going into the Redis. Yeah, I guess actually, Michael, do you have to hand the commands that one would use to like pull down the latest version of Redis and examine it? I think for my monthly report, I'm supposed to report on how many people have used the AsyncVoter.
Not offhand.
No. I mean, it's all. I seem to remember as we paged through like docu Redis, there's like a whole series of commands that we can just use. But so, okay, yes, and so I think there's probably no reason why I didn't merge in your thing there, Brent, other than just having forgotten to do it. I think you did explain to me previously. Yeah, I should have just then passed it through. Can I add my? Oh gosh, I don't know. Let's do this. Administrative privileges. Okay, so that's merged in. Yes, you were pointing out to me that the this is taking advantage of the underlying Mongoose model, that it just does the timestamps for us. And
yeah.
So so that's all good. That's in. So into the AsyncVoter API. So maybe we can pull out the latest version of that. So I guess the key jump forward will be to connect all these things together. I guess also, have you got the link to the client as well, the AsyncVoter?
It's in, yeah, it's just AsyncVoter API-client, I think.
Right. Like so.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess Just checking out what's going on here. I've also the greeter bots and everything all seem to go offline. I've rebooted them and they're running again. I've also tried to add a greeting bot to the AsyncVoter channel to try and explain the to people who join that channel what's going on. Not that necessarily so many people have. Oh gosh, go on! I just want a new window from this thing here. And that did lead me to update the documentation on the AsyncVoter ever so slightly. I think that's the one thing that I've done. Let's just go and check the chat. I still, for all the different bots, part of my hope for them was to actually get like a kind of ping in the channel when new people join. But it still doesn't achieve that effect. For some reason, when a bot flags you in a channel, it doesn't pop up the little red one, which is kind of frustrating. I mean, I'm not 100% sure that if the project greeter bots are working at all at the moment. The individual
doesn't
go on.
But doesn't it? So yeah. So if I'm mentioned by the Slack bot in a channel, it shows up as a direct message in my Slack bot channel.
Yeah, if you are, does it? That's
yeah, it does.
Well, isn't that if a Slack bot talks to you directly? But if a bot talks to you in a channel, you wouldn't see it in the channel. I mean, you'd get that message in the Slack bot thing, but not in the channel itself.
No, I do. So if I share my screen now,
please do.
So like Federico, where are we? Share screen.
Oh, thanks, Michael.
Yeah, it's something like that. I also should get I just realized that I've been dumping from staging, I think. So
really?
That's actually not good.
Oh dear.
I need to. I'm not sure if I have access to production.
Oh, okay. Well, that's something we should probably change and sort out then. Yeah, maybe we can do that. There, Brent, you were sharing your screen.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking of something different. It's if I'm mentioning a channel that I'm not a member of.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
And I think there are different things. Like, I think when the async, because what these different things, there's bots, and then there's these Slack commands. When when we start a vote, I think I see that, like, if it goes like at here and starts the vote, I see that as a thing. But this, I mean, I've got these two other node projects that, I mean, maybe we can kind of pull in. I don't know how interested either of you two are in these projects, but they are also both node, and let me just quickly find them. I've got a bots channel for them, but so we've got both the project greeter bot. I'll just slap these in the. I've like, I don't think anybody's worked on them besides myself. But so the greeter bot, basically, whenever anybody joins our Slack instance, it sends them a message to kind of say hi. I can show it. There's one person I was just talking to recently here. So, and we've got it set up that it mentions our code of conduct and like the different channels. So you see here, this is like this person just joined our community, and so it automatically posts as if from me to say, do introduce yourself and new members. What Tech Talk and Random are for. Mentions our code of conduct and also our free premium mob offer. And so this person here saying they're interested in learning RSpec and then having a chat about it. And yeah, so I think most people probably realize it's a bot and ignore it, or they just don't like my South Park icon or what have you. But that's the code for that is here, this greeter bot, which we have running on Azure Doku.
Cool.
And it's particularly you're asking about tests, Brent. Is I did add test framework to both of these, but so the server is like really incredibly small amount of code using this bot kit thing, and then I have the greeting in here, and the tests are for this one. It's just unit test that it's the test that the syntax of the message is correctly linked up so that it has the links to the code of conduct and to the different channels. And because it's weird. Bots by default, if they mention a channel, it won't get hyperlinked, where it was for a human user it would. And bots have this ability to actually put links like this in, where, you know, as you saw there, it said like code of conduct and it's a hyperlink. But as a human user, you can't do that.
Right.
You can't do that as a human user, which is very strange.
So are you thinking the plan is to give different messages depending on the channel that you join, so you get specific information about the channel?
Yes. So the greeter bot standalone, that just greets people in the same way. We also have then the project greeter bot, and what that does is that depending upon the different channel, it gives you like startup information about that channel. So pretty much same setup, what have you. It now has in its greetings thing, it has a series of different messages, one for the local support, website 1, runfunc, different ones here. I have added the AsyncVoter one, but basically, so depending upon which channel you join, it then responds and says hello.
Yeah,
and it's quite good in that. Let's see if I can actually find somebody who recently joined. I said they went offline and no one has joined since I switched it back on. I haven't seen anybody join. I was going to show you what it looks like in one of the.
Well, I can
things.
Maybe the RFM channel.
Yeah.
I'm a member of it.
Oh yeah. Well, so this was Gail who came.
Okay.
Came to website 1 meeting time. If I can make the. Come on, here we go. There you go. So you can see here, Gail joined, and it welcomed as if me, and it mentions the project setup notes that we've got an install channel, and says please feel free to ask me and so on. And particularly if no one else has joined recently, then there's a warm fuzzy like, oh yes, Sam's greeting us. If 3 people join in a row and it posts the same thing 3 times over, it's a bit like, oh gosh, you've got a silly bot here, haven't you? And I'd love to put more intelligence in the bot so that it kind of like checks the channel recently and says like, oh, welcome for joining, see my notes above, and so on. But
yeah,
anyway.
maybe check once an hour, and then
and so on and so forth. So I've got all those as like things going on. But again, same testing. I have a feeling like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I thought of, did I kind of like create like a little trivial testing framework for one of your things? Anyway, the reason I kind of like had that in my mind is because I created testing frameworks for those things. But but part of my whole idea of this is that people can join channels and you get no notification whatsoever. And you can't even, there's no, as far as I can tell, like that's just like, you know, if you go and look at the channel, you can see that people joined. Now, the part of my intention here was that the bot mentioning my name is that I would then get a red 1. So I would then know that someone had joined and I could go and like see if they needed extra help or what have you. But it definitely posts this, but I don't get any notification whatsoever. So
couldn't you change the bot so that it direct messages you?
I guess I could like have it so that it does another notification. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I'll certainly try that when I come back around to it. Anyway, I've kind of got far afield part. Anyway, so then there's a whole bot. There's a bots channel, and I've set in a branch that I've pushed out to production, like introduction project greeters for AsyncVoter and bot to try and chat to say hello to people and get them set up. But what I was trying to do here, my brain, sorry, end of the week. So we've got this. I thought I just merged. Actually, no. I guess your changes are all in the thing I just merged in is in the
client. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we did actually start the testing last time we spoke.
Yeah.
So we set up a basic test framework and we got some noddy tests running to prove that it was working. And I was all set to go and do the testing, but I started thinking about it because what we agreed on that because it's a client, we're testing a client. Ideally, we need it to not mock the API or not stub the API. We want it to actually interact with it, and that's great. But then I started thinking about the tests that we would run. The issues you've got is we're going to be writing, if you're running that test, say every 10 minutes or something, as you're making changes or whatever, we're going to be writing a lot of votes and stories to the database, plus it's to the actual API, and plus it's not going to be, it might not be consistent in terms of reading back and things. So it's like, do we need to have something in place where it clears down the API before you start a test or something, or can we somehow namespace your votes and stories? I don't know. Or do we need to go back to rethinking about stubbing it?
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, good questions indeed.
So I think one way you could do it is have an API endpoint that's destructive, that basically just kills it, cleans everything, and then obviously that would only be enabled when a variable is set, saying that it's the staging or whatever. Staging, but whereas in production it wouldn't, that endpoint wouldn't be enabled.
Indeed. Go on.
Because I was thinking you could test locally, but then that expects the developer to have the API running locally, and they've also got to maintain that API. And
even if they're running locally,
you're
still going to have some way of cleaning. To keep things consistent.
But what I was thinking, so I was sort of thinking along the lines to you, Michael, but then what if you've got 2 or 3 developers working on it at the same
simultaneously?
Yeah.
I mean, you could. Just think about this. What would we do? I mean, one way is you could basically do something like a transaction where this is getting more sophisticated though. Basically, my idea was, what if you basically, when you're running in staging and you want to run a test, you hit an endpoint and it gives you a token.
Right. Yeah.
And then every request that you make with that token would all be kind of sandboxed in its own.
Yeah, makes sense. But I guess that
would be more complicated.
Yeah, and it would require changes to the API, wouldn't it?
Well. Like extensive changes potentially.
Yeah.
So, sorry, what is this? I just got it.
Okay, well, while you're dealing with that message, Michael, so at the moment so we've merged in my thing from before. So we've got like a little trivial testing framework here. We've got test.js here.
Yeah.
This is your manual testing.
That's correct. And I think it was the spec one that you did.
Yeah, and then I've got a spec one here, which is just like to set up like the framework there. Yes. And so what you've got here is, you're sort of testing it directly hitting in this case, the main. Do we see the API being meant? Like,
it's in the client itself.
It's in the client itself. So currently the client is hard coded to the base URL.
I do intend to change that.
As intended at the moment. Yes. And so we know that this works. And so, right. So if we were talking about the testing strategies that we were mentioning there. So we've got the mocking and stubbing, which we went through a list of different sort of libraries, and also talking about how it tends to be quite painful in Node, or at least it has been in Michael's and my experience previously. And even then, I think as we were just talking about in the Agile Dev mob, Brent, I think this is one of the areas that it's a spike to impale oneself on to an extent. So the other thing is to have like a testing API endpoint, which is one of the things like Stripe provides one of those, and so on. Now, then you were having so we sort of talked about doing this last time, but then your concerns about this one were what happens if we, like cleaning up
Yeah.
And what happens if we have multiple developers? Is that was the
Yeah, I mean,
go on.
I guess it would work because we could build into the tests using the equivalent of Factory Girl or something, so that it creates unique stories and posts every time, and then the tests that need to read those will read the ones that you've already created. We just need to make sure that we run the tests in a specific order in that case. And I think that would work as long as they are unique somehow, and I'm sure there's ways we can do that. And if that's the case, then yeah, that would work. But then there's the problem of, we've got this test endpoint somewhere that we probably need to, maybe on a daily or a weekly or a monthly rotation, just clear it down, because it's going to have, lots of stuff in there that's potentially costing us in the future, if or whatever, in terms of resources.
Right. Yes. Yes. I hear what you're saying there. So yeah, you're thinking about possible solutions, as in, generates new unique data for each test. Other ones are, delete data at some frequency. So, I mean, it would be pretty trivial to add a cron job that would just turn the database over with some frequency. I mean, go on.
Yeah, so the other thing I was thinking of is you could have the API could have functionality that allows you to clear out stories, but I don't know because if it did have that, then that could be something that the client did and we test for that, and when we test for that, it's also clear in the database. But it's whether or not that's valid functionality that the API should have.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I'm tempted to suggest here is, in the first instance, is maybe that we don't worry about it.
Yeah.
In that we're kind of anticipating problems down the line, which is sort of stopping us from kind of, exploring forward. I'm thinking about the way that Stripe uses their test API, and in the first instance, if this is, I think we've got a fair amount of spare capacity on our Azure thing. It could be manually cleared out in the first instance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, so probably I would lean towards this, and it's the kind of, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm always going to be turned around and be bitten. I tend to be very lazy about these things, and I tend to only clear up once things have got into a mess. So go on, Michael.
How do we generate unique data?
Oh, well, I think that the thing is, in order for the test to, for example, have a story and then put votes on it, the test would then just need to make sure that it wasn't falling afoul of, okay, we previously voted on that story and then now there's 6 votes rather than 4 votes or what have you. It's just that the story name itself could be appended like a hash of the current time on it, and then that would be uniquely stored, so to speak.
So, unless somewhere in the universe another developer was running that exact test at that exact moment.
But even then, they'd be running on a different machine that they would, unless they run it at precisely the same time, I mean, you can generate a secure random, it's trivial to generate just some kind of unique thing for it, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I'm just thinking about this now. Does it have to be unique? Because the way the client, the API works, is all based on the ID that's generated by the API, and that's always going to be unique, isn't it?
Well, but I think, for example, if you go through the process of posting and creating a news story, and if I don't know, I'm sort of at the moment thinking about the way in which the Redis works, and so you can only establish a separate uniqueness by having a different name. But yeah, I guess in principle, in the current AsyncVoter, it's kind of some really weird audio background. I'm just going to mute Michael briefly and see if we get, that seems to let's go and have a look at the way the API works
is all, I'm pretty sure it is all
it's just going to generate a new ID, and then you're going to look up according to that ID. So yeah, maybe I'm just conflating the way in which the
no, I was thinking on the same lines that you were, I think.
Which is based on the Redis, yeah.
Yeah, but now thinking about it, it might not be necessary.
Yeah, so if we look at the control, like when we create a story, it's going to insert that into the MongoDB, and then it's going to return a unique ID.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, yeah, with that collapses down to we just have a test endpoint.
Yeah, cool. That's great. Yeah, that's I can move forward now. Yeah.
Fantastic. So I think that gives us actually two things. There is Michael's asking about access to production Redis, and there's also about setting up. So we've got like a testing server.
Yeah.
Now, in principle, Brent, you might actually have all the necessary permissions to do that, I think. But of course, not. Let's have a look here. So if we look here, we've got this. We've got the production system here, so I can kind of do this and do sh apps list. So this is all of the apps that we can. Now you could do this same command for yourself locally, could you, Brent?
Let me fire up a.
This might be a not unreasonable test of you having the right level of permissions. I need to give Patrick and Joao more permissions of different things. I know how to give people permissions because we have this SSH users list, like a list of. It's not the see help for a list of available commands.
Do I need to be in the? Let me. Async.
I think you don't. In principle, you don't have to be in that particular app. But yeah, so we've got it set up so that yeah, you're in there as someone who should have access to this. And in principle, because this is unlike Heroku, which is then looking at what the local Git elements are. I guess what I would love to be able to do actually is make this so that it was specific here. Like what I want to do is I want to be able to use this Azure production but I don't, you know what I mean? Like I want to be able to just like with Heroku, I can do like Heroku whatever, and then -r production or what have you, and it will then link up to the appropriate thing.
So
if there's a way to do that with this Docker. Go on, Michael.
I can see the apps in there. Do I have access to them all, or?
In principle, you will have.
Oh, really?
More or less, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I can see them with just.
Oh yeah, so you can do the listing thing. Yeah. So then in principle, you could also do like this. I think it's create, and then we could create. So the thing that you need, Brent, is like this, but with test on there.
So shall I try that? Oh, you're going to do it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Shall I try and then see if?
Yeah. Well, you could try. You could try if you can see it. You could try deleting it and adding it again. I think.
And then you can push to that endpoint.
Yeah, and then you can push. Yeah, totally.
So that's all the magic.
Yep. To get some code up on there, and it will, then try and deploy it.
So that just created a Docker container managed by Doku.
Right.
And like, how does Docker know what we need?
Well, when we push the stuff.
Oh, when we push the app, it'll figure it out.
Yep.
Because that's what Doku does.
Yep.
So shall I try and delete that?
You could, yeah. I don't know. You have to try to delete and do AsyncVoter API test. I mean, we've obviously got the issue here that as we put more and more of these things, like we've got the Met Plus production things here, we ideally don't want to accidentally be stepping on other people's toes. And then we've got to work out like what's the actual code of it.
No.
If I do like apps help, that would be nice. I think it probably won't work. Oh yeah, destroy is the word it would seem.
So is everything in this box? Doku is like, is it make the assumption that you're a web app?
I don't think so. We've got some of them that are not web apps.
Okay, such as.
such as the Project Greeter bot and stuff that are not doing any HTTP interaction, as far as I know. I mean, conceivably they might be using HTTP in order to as a protocol to interact with Slack, but I think that they're using WebSockets actually. So yeah, Greeter bot production, Project Greeter production.
Our analytics thing could be moved over here, maybe.
Conceivably, yeah.
Although, how does this work with cron jobs?
Well, then, and that's because MetPlus needs. Well, they might have used a cron job. I think we found a different way to do it. But you can then, like, so this is the thing that I got to work out is if you've got the right permissions, you can, in principle, SSH into the box itself, like this, which I can do. But I'm not at the moment 100% sure of how to add other people to do that.
And how do you? So, for instance, with our analytics, we have data that is just like a CSV that I put in there.
Yeah, I think that would need to be like added to the app through Git, or you need to put it into some kind of storage system. Because like from here inside, I can use the Docker command and I can see this list of things, but I don't think that these have they don't have access to the file system. These are all in their separate virtual containers.
And you can't get inside of those virtual containers.
I don't know that we can. Maybe we can. I mean, that's the kind of thing where we would have a look at Docker help. And what else can we do? Docker, there are options, domain, enter, connect to a specific app container. Oh, well, let's try that. So we could do Docker, and what did it say? Enter. So we can do Docker enter. Let's go to the thing. Did you manage to delete and recreate the app in the background there?
I did, yes.
Yeah, cool. Do you want to try, what's the word? Try pushing if you've checked out the AsyncVoter API master, you want to just try pushing that to the API test container?
So that's, I just need to create a new remote then, don't I?
Yeah, so you want to git remote, add Azure test, and then adjust that thing there. But so, Michael, here it looks like I've been able to connect inside to the AsyncVoter API production container. I do ls, and then I've got the code there. So, I mean, in principle, one could be going in there and like playing, but that's probably not the way to use it, I would say.
Once you push.
Because once you push it the next time, it's going to blow that stuff away. So, I mean, this is like a handy way of sort of checking what's going on. Actually, it's interesting. I wonder, having done that, can I then, so I'm just going to Control D there. I come back out. I wonder if I can enter, because we were being asked about this. If I go into MetPlus Pets Production, I wonder if that then enter events, help, logs, ls, nginx, proxy, ps, run a command in the environment of application. Actually, that's probably what I want. I want to be able to do was like run a Rails C. Can I do that? Rails does not exist. Okay, it's not that way around. How does run work? Let's find out. Okay, yeah. And then I do it afterwards. Sorry, just because I'm going to be asked this question, or I have been asked this question. No. Well, actually, let me just break it up. No. Should have done it on something else. I should put that on Charity Commission API production. Oh, well, I'm kind of in there. Oh, no, aha! Ooh. Interesting. Okay. Yep, great. Aha, that's nice to know that works. So, yeah, so Brent, you've been able to deploy that thing. Yeah, great. And I don't know if that needs some environment variables set or not for it to work. It might or it might not. I mean, I would have thought, Michael, that you probably will have access to the Redis production application. Can you do a test to check that you do? I guess I will also do git remote ads Azure test and add this thing.
Yeah, I'm cannot get when I try and go to that URL.
You go to that endpoint. Do you want to copy and paste that endpoint over to me? And I think that's actually a sign that it's working.
Sorry.
Not Brent. Yeah, not right. Because I think if we recall, we need that, and then we need to do /stories on it.
Yeah, I tried that.
Oh, and that didn't work.
No.
Okay. Is there something then?
I also removed the slash before the colon and the port.
Potentially, but yeah.
Yeah, so that's giving. I'm getting cannot get that. If we do that /stories, do we not get?
No, you get the same.
It's just, let's see. It's for me. It's still thinking about it. I guess probably also it's probably also it's good. I would have thought it would give us an application error because it's not hooked up to a Mongo database. Is probably what we need to do with it, don't we? I mean, this is the kind of stuff we should probably put in the AsyncVoter API, what have you. But so yeah, if we I'm not just doing it on the screen because it'll probably print out like weird stuff. But if we here, I'm going to SSH into the box again, actually on a different screen, and do docu apps list. So there's going to be, so for the AsyncVoter API production, so you can do this maybe hidden on your screen, Brent, if you, what is it? Oh gosh, someone's crashed their car outside.
So
yeah, for me,
I got the dump.
Oh, did you? Yeah, so I'm getting now something went wrong. Yeah, so all right, so you've got the information that you need, Michael. That's great. I was just going to do docu config AsyncVoter API production, and yeah, so that's all set up for talking to a MongoDB. Now the great thing actually about all this Mongo stuff that we're doing is that they've got really nice documentation for all of that, which we could put over here. Docu, yeah. Here, docu. There you go. Yeah. Docu, documentation. Oh, view docs. There we go. Yeah. So, like, all this stuff kind of is in there, and then you can also do like just the usual kind of help things and everything. Confused. Where am I going? Right. So, but what we do there is there's a way to get if we do the docu help, it will tell us about community plugin commands, and then we've also got like docu mongo, and then we can do I think docu mongo help. There we go. Yeah, and so here, like I've got a list of make it smaller. All the different things we can do with Mongo there. So what we need to do is, and I've logged in because it's less typing, is to create, and then we would want to do like AsyncVoter API test and create the test database.
Okay.
And then we need to do this. There's this link command that automatically sets all of the environment variables appropriately. And AsyncVoter, and I just gone for like calling the databases the same names as the apps, and that's now linked there, and that'll restart that. And then in principle, we could reload this and get the empty what's it square brackets. I think the app's still restarting.
Yeah, it's thinking about it.
Yeah, and then we can set it up so that it gets its own domain name and this and another. But yeah.
But I can work with that for now. So that's
yeah. It's just telling me in the background here that it's busy setting itself up. Still might start that again. Start this one over. Oh yeah, all right. So that's supposed to have finished. I don't know if there's another set of things that we need to. So this is AsyncVoter API. The kind of stuff that we've got installing. I guess we might want to add a section on creating a container and what have you on Docu to remind ourselves about how to do this.
Yeah.
Got install. I guess I might just like edit that right now while I'm thinking about it. Put the commands in. No time at the present. In the background, it's thinking about it. So
yeah.
There may be some additional install that's like locally. Or I guess it's deployment would be install deploy. Automatically generated table of contents there. Well, that's great. We've actually managed to sort of sort out our two kind of key things. That's great. Let's pop in here deploy and say we currently deploy app via Doku. We can create an app on Doku like so. I guess I'll put in here like I'll just do the short command, which is like Doku create app async voter API test. Now, yeah, we're still getting, but something's gone wrong. I guess I could do Doku logs API async voter. It'd be nice if that tab completed async voter API test that tell us that something else needs to happen. Okay. And I'm seeing a like Mongo error, failed to connect server on first connect. Get address E not found, undefined, other things. There's not migrations that we have to run, is there? That doesn't make quite sense to me. I'm gonna the config for async voter API. It has a Mongo URL. Okay. I noticed there seems to be an additional thing on the API production where we've got a MongoDB config set. And I wonder if that also, that's kind of a not, I wonder if we're maybe not playing nicely with the defaults here. I'm just going to try and set that as well. It's just been equals. Bonk, bonk, bonk. So is that like the additional step? Okay, so I've set that. So this will be create and like so. And we need a MongoDB. And so $Doku Mongo, I think it's Mongo create like this. Just like put DB on the end of those, but anyway, which we must link to the app. So, and then that's like that. Load over here. Thinking about it. If we're lucky, that will be it. And we also need to ensure that this can be it's MongoDB environment variable is set as well, i.e. Now, is there something actually in our code base that's like working with that? Have I got that? That's the AsyncVoter API. Find in folder Mongo. Yeah, it looks like it's relying upon MongoDB there when perhaps the standard is actually to have it Mongo_URL. Or at least that's what the Doku plugin is doing by default. So presumably we could avoid that step. Yeah, and then here we go back to still something went wrong, even though we've done that. So I guess I should go and check if I've set it correctly. Config. Have I gone and set it on the? I think I've gone and ridiculously set it on the production database, the production app. Oh no, ridiculous boy. That's very silly. Okay. let's set that correctly. And yes, it will work. I will bend it to my will. Okay. It's Friday. It's time to have a break.
Yeah.
You know, but it's always that one last fix, and then it'll work. You know, it's the one last. You know, it's 3 a.m. I'm sure. No, I was gonna knock for 5. But there you go. All right. So that's. I think I've done that. I'll go and fix the production app. It works. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Good job. We're not having lots of people relying on that there. What I need to do is back up to here and then reset the production database URL for the Mongo correctly, and then we should be all back in business. Yeah, but is my logic making sense?
It is, yes.
About the here, if we presumably somewhere that MongoDB here, yeah, if this here was _URL, then we wouldn't need that additional linking step, would we? I mean, we wouldn't need that explicit setting of the config step that I appeared to need. That's something we might want to change. But given that things are the way they are here, so we've got another thing there, and so that would need to be not MongoLink, but it would need to be config set, and then we would have to have the thing like this, where we go test, and then etc. Like that. And then it should all work. Okay. Right. So I'm going to save that. If I can find the save button, just click changes button. And we could add an issue, which would be prefer Mongo URL to Mongo DB, since that is what the Doku Mongo plugin seems to use by default. All right. Well, I think meeting done. Things achieved.
Great. Yeah. Cool.
Good stuff. I will, and this is the Friday. The new time has worked. I think that's it seems all good. Something Friday. Aloha Friday.
Casual Friday. Aloha Friday.
Casual Friday. Yeah. Well, my son went to school. My other son went to school in my Christmas jumper today with bells on.
Is he off because of Christmas?
No. They've just, for some reason, they've had a half day today. They had both all my children's schools had casual, non-uniform days today, and but the old one had a half day for some reason we don't know. But they all finished it's Wednesday is the last day next week, which is also a half day. And chaos will ensue. But we've got my twins. This is the stroke of genius. We bought a football table for my twin 9-year-olds, and that's one of the. I think we've had a lot of fun with that this week, particularly since I'm regularly beating my 12-year-old at table football, which he's finding hard to cope with. But pride comes before a fall. He was like, "I'm going to just totally slaughter you," and I was like, "Oh yeah, we'll see." Here we go. I gotta let him win eventually, I guess. All right. I would get on my reflex.
We call it foosball in the US.
Foosball, indeed. I have, having watched many American soap things. I'm familiar with these. The alternative diction that you have over there. Guys, have a fantastic weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Yep. Have fun, gents. Cheers.
Bye for now. Take care.
Yes, bye.